Welcome to another episode of the iConis podcast. We have something a little different. We got something special for you. I say that every week, but I'm telling you, it's a little different. Hold on to yourself. See, I know the best. Mara Jade Skywalker. Uh-huh. Mara Jade Skywalker. Who's that? You'll find out.
Right after we intros.
Roll the credits.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to the iConis podcast. This is Barry 3D as usual. On my side is the one and only
Rod C.
And we are joined below with our brother, the one from a different mother, the one and only Mr.
Larry Reckless-Auto.
Right on, and this is the iConis podcast. And as you heard in the opening, we are going to be talking about Mara Jade. You're going to say Mara Jade who? And we're going to explain who Mara Jade is and where we're going with this and why we're talking about it, because it's a fourth be with you. Recognize. Before we jump in, though, we have to do the round table. Very simple. Where can you find all of us? You can find me at barry3d.com. Look it up, mark it, bookmark it, and you can't go wrong. Got a show coming up on May 8th in St. Anne de Bellevue. So if you've got some free time, come by and check out that show there. Rod, where can we find you?
You can find me, as I said, on the World Wide Web, Instagram at Mr. Rod C. That's MRRODC. I'm there. Find me. Let's go.
Right. And Larry, where can the Patreons find you? Larry, where can we find you?
You can contact me on Facebook off of the Forgotten, Obscure, and Underrated Comic Characters page.
Awesome. On top of it, Larry, as always, thank you for doing all those shorts for us that you've been coming up, and they've been coming and coming and coming. So people keep on watching and keep on liking. So very simple. Like, subscribe, and share. Turn your notifications on. Don't let the show be a secret. Also, we have a coffee page. We have a Patreon page. So if you want to help us support the show or the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. You know, every little bit goes a long way. And of course, the one you don't see, but you see his work all the time. If you need any kind of digital work done, you can reach out to the one
J Bird Digital Art.
Mr. Jason Reese, Jade Bird Digital Arts. You heard about him. You let him know that you've heard about him on the iConis podcast, and he'll give you a discount on the work. Okay, there we go. I had to do it 3 times, Jay. Thank you so much for all you do. And let's get into it, gentlemen. We are talking about the one and only Mara Jade. Now, why Mara Jade? Because in my opinion, Mara Jade is an important character to the Star Wars lore. It brought back interest, in my opinion, into this whole genre of Star Wars. But then again, we haven't really seen her. Not many people know her. So you got your levels of fans. You could be a casual fan that just knows the movies that come out and you go and you support the movies. Okay. You could be a hardcore fan that's into the movies, the comics, the TV shows, all the stuff on Disney Plus, and you're buying all the figures. Okay, great. And you could be just those fans that so you got your hardcore, you got your casual fans, right? And anything in between. And any fan is a good fan. Doesn't matter what your level is. We're all in the same boat. All right? All right, then. Okay. Well, we're going to be talking about Mara Jade. And I brought this up because I wanted to think about her. So, was there much out there? Yes and no. Literature-wise, yes. Visually-wise, huh? And that's where I was coming down. So I'll say this real quick. So Mara Jade made her debut back in 1991. May of 1991 in the novel Heir to the Empire. So at that point, the last movie we got was roughly about 1988 from Star Wars. That was whole said and done. And then you hear about Mara Jade. And then this character has three main story arcs, right? From her beginning, middle to end, like every character should. And when you go and you read about her adventures, be it in the novels, so keep in mind, in that trilogy, Heir to the Empire, that's also we brought in Emperor Thrawn. So 2 great characters. We've seen 1 out of 2 in there. So that's one aspect there. And then you realize that Mara Jade has been around in the Star Wars lore longer than you know. She's always been there in the background. So, and then I always say this is a running joke. Every good franchise has to have a redhead.
I'm just going down the mental Rolodex. That's why I'm laughing. Okay.
Every good franchise has a redhead somewhere. right? Right?
That's
Okay. X-Men, Jean Grey,
X-Men, yeah, right.
right? Okay, they got a redhead. Uh,
Spider
Archie,
Spider-Man.
right?
Oh,
Spider-Man, Mary
oh,
Jane, Archie,
Archie.
Cherry,
Avengers,
right? Like every franchise has got a redhead,
Avengers got Black Widow.
right? Avengers got Black Widow. Every franchise had to have a redhead. Star Wars, there was
And
no redhead.
visibly, she's there
Visibly,
in spirit.
in spirit, maybe, but okay, visibly, gotta have a
Gotta
redhead.
change that.
We
Gotta
ain't
change
seen her
that.
yet.
Yeah,
People of Lucas, change that. Just saying.
and
Yeah.
that's where it came down to. Like, I make this as a joke, but think of it. All you fans, you go out there and you find a franchise you like, even if it's not the main character, someone in that in the characters bubble will be a reoccurring redhead on the screen, the literature, whatever. Someone in there is a redhead. Okay, all right. Wasn't Archie Andrews would be considered a redhead?
She's the redhead,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
every franchise has a redhead. Every franchise has a redhead. Right. So there we go. So Mary Jade came in. Now, Mary Jade was not created by George Lucas. Mary Jade was created by
He's on.
thank you, Timothy Zahn.
Yep.
Timothy.
Mhm.
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Larry. And so Timothy Zahn was the one that created Mara Jade, and he created Mara Jade to be a foil to Luke Skywalker, to be someone that is similar to Han Solo to Princess Leia. Okay, so clearly the Skywalkers have a type. Everyone likes a bad boy, a bad girl. They've got a type. Nature versus nature versus nature, right? Like Padme, Anakin, she had a type. She liked the bad boys. Princess Leia and Han Solo, okay, all right. Brother and sister, mom and dad, not too far from the tree. And Luke Skywalker's the last one to jump on that bandwagon. They had a type. They want it. So they want a redemption, right? So the whole thing with Mara Jade's overall storyline is a tale of redemption. This is a tale where she starts one way, and because of certain events that happen over the course of her life, brings her to the other side. Now, bottom line, the character is missing. I see Disney that bought it over. What's legends, what counts as canon, what doesn't count as canon. That's fine, but they need to turn around and I think bring Mara Jade finally in here properly. More, don't just put her in and change her whole backstory because then you're going to lose the richness of the character. We need to have the character stay for her storylines and the importance and all that and all those aha moments. She would have great flashback episodes. I think she would have a good series. How we have the Mandalorian for a couple of seasons, and I mean, ending off with a movie. I think Mara Jade could, come across with a season, not a movie because a movie might have taken and maybe we might have that. We'll talk about that in the end. But it definitely the character needs to be brought in for various reasons. So before we dive into that, I'll start off with you, Rod. Rod, what was your feel on this character overall?
She was very how do I say it? She starts off, yeah, as a bad girl in that sense, and she's very, very rough, very forceful, like someone that you just like, what? You have to think two times before you really want to cross her and get on her bad side. Um,
Right.
definitely with the association that she kept with, you know, as we'll get into the story. But then just to realize, like, what, she was the type of person that you will say, okay, she was like, would you call her the second in command, third in command in that sense? But she was within ear of the emperor. That's how close, how powerful you are to be that close to somebody. You gotta watch. You gotta watch what you do. Watch your steps, because you know she might just turn on you, and no one will bat an eye. Like, oh, you messed up, son. Why'd you bother her? You know you're not. Just walk away. I ain't seen nothing, Papi. I ain't seen nothing. That's exactly it. So yeah, her character is very unique, but very forceful and very strong will. That's the word I'm trying to get. She's very strong will,
Right.
and I like that
Yeah.
about
Well, yes. Awesome. And what was your takeaway, Larry? What's your takeaway of Mara Jade?
Well, first, when we started talking about this, I didn't realize that I knew more about her than I originally thought I did
Okay.
with you guys, because it's been so many years since I've read The Heir to the Empire that she was kind of out of my head. But when I remember originally when I first read it, I was like, damn, this is a space version of Natasha.
Yeah.
She is the
Yes.
assassin. She's the Emperor's hand, as they call them. Yeah, like I said, she flowed over to me as like a deep space version of the Black Widow. Um,
Good
then you get
connection.
into the
Yep.
other parts,
That's really
the other
that's right.
storylines that I had to check with my best friend. Um, she she is so Star Wars. You she will tell you things that you never thought you would ever need to know. Uh, and she gave me a quick rundown of everything. I was like, damn, this is a character who really needs 3 movies of her own.
Yeah. 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 I agree with that. And the whole thing with that is, yeah, you're right. She needs 3 movies on her own because the character has got that much more so much story that it can be put across that way. As I said,
Mm-hmm.
overlooked, and fans will jump on board. And it's enough that we're still in the Star Wars universe. We're still on the orbit of the Skywalker family up to a
Mm-hmm.
certain point that you're looking for that to come across. And it's a love story. It's a redemption. It's a love, and you root for the character. Like to have a good bad guy, bad person, you need someone the fans can understand and sympathize with, right? You're not just
Yeah.
evil to be evil. You're evil, but what's their motivation? And once you can kind of convey that, you can get fans on board, and then you go on to that storyline. So this is just basic storytelling. I mean, I'm not a storyteller, obviously, but basic storytelling. This is what they kind of use those tropes to bring fans in and get them along for the ride. So you mentioned a couple of things which is really cool, and so let's go back for half a second. If we had to put certain things in perspective or in order with Mara Jade and why we're excited about talking about the character is one, she's been there longer than you think, just like Larry turned around and mentioned. So her first, if we have to go back chronological order, she was there in, let's see, she was, so prior to when she would come across, she was there in Return of the Jedi,
That's what I was
right? Like
about to
that.
figure out. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like for where she was at a certain point in her life. So kind of start off her life very young, married Jade, like Emperor Palpatine turned around and did
Mm-hmm.
what the Jedi would do. He would show up and the Jedi would go to a parent's house and say, "Hey, your kid has got connection to the Force. We're going to take your child from you. You will not see your child again, but we're going to train them to be a Jedi. Is that okay with you?" Yeah, that's fine. Give them a better life. And off they go to that pilgrimage and go to the Jedi temple and start learning to be a Jedi to use their powers. Okay. Generally speaking, the Sith don't operate like that, but Palpatine was always forward thinking. And he looked and said, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And he went and found someone that was force sensitive and took her from her family. Now, of course, since he's a Sith Lord, he's not asking, right? He's just going to say, hey, we're leaving, but I live here. You used to. And off she went. So she was abducted from her family at a young age, just like any other force sensitive child. For her, it was a little bit more traumatic because he took her from her parents, and that was it. She doesn't have many memories of her parents as she grew older. She relied on Palpatine as a father figure because he's taken that role purposely because we know he's a master manipulator and he knows how to do things. Now, keep in mind that while he's doing this with her, at the same time, Anakin is switched over to being Darth Vader. He's gone and taken him on that road there. So on the front, his so to speak, Padawan, so to speak, is Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, or Darth Vader at this point, and then going forward, he's already done Order 66 and things along those lines. It kind of
Right.
coincides with each other. But the Emperor, he's an Emperor. Just like every samurai had to work alongside a ninja because someone had to do the black ops work for every kind of emperor in feudal Japan. Same thing with the emperor. Everyone knows Darth Vader. He's recognizable. You know him. When you see and the lights coming on, you hear him breathing, oh, well, here we go. I'm in deep doo-doo. I'm on the other side of that lightsaber. But then he had those people working in as black ops, and that was called the Emperor's Hand. Those were his group of assassins, and he kept them all separated, and you wouldn't know there was no, they didn't have no ranking, no military ranking,
Title. No
right?
title. No title.
That's right. There were no title. And sometimes you would see them and it's like, who's that? Oh, the Emperor's got dancers around him. The dancers. It's the dancers. Not knowing that those are his assassins. That's so old school, feudal Japan kind of stuff. All right, then.
And they didn't even know each other. As far
No,
as that.
exactly. So when you're making that analogy about Natasha and the Avengers, the Black Widow, very parallel on that whole aspect how he took about it. Great, and maybe the writer was influenced, the creator was influenced by that kind of ideology, but that's where it comes off. Now, as I said, for fans, when I go back, yes, Return of the Jedi is where she would have made her appearance. Like she got to Jabba's hideout just before Luke Skywalker because she was ordered to kill Luke Skywalker. So at this point, we all understand Luke is all in black with a gray. He's got the Jedi. He's a Jedi. In his mind, he's a master, but he's not a master officially yet. And they're trying to get back Han Solo. They're there on Tatooine, and they're trying to get back Han Solo out of the carbonite. And she got there before Luke appeared. So this is before the droid showed up and all that, because they knew he was going to be the Emperor had a feeling that Luke would show up to kind of rescue Han. It was all a trap, obviously. She walks in there to be a dancer for Jabba the Hutt, one of the dancers. So when Luke officially walks in that front door and goes into the chamber with Jabba, the other dancers and music and all that, and he's like, Jabba, you understand how strong I am. She was there. She was in the background. She was so close. She was able to hear the conversation between Luke and Jabba and take action, right? And at that point, she had her little secret identity. She didn't go by Mara. She went by Erica. So that was the name she was going by as a dancer. So I'm like, we missed this. That's a flashback that needs to happen.
Yeah.
That's her introduction. So what I find interesting with this character is she's got to deal with, being kidnapped. There's going to be not mental issues, but mental health. She's dealing with mental health, right? Clearly, she was trained by the Emperor, very hard training, to be brought up as an assassin. Daddy issues, if you want to use that as a loose term, and I don't mean this in a bad way or derogatory way. Like literally, she was taking her family, and the Emperor made himself her father in her eyes, and all she wants to do is please her father, right? Like you hear the expression "daddy's girl," "mama's boy," right? It's because that usually, if you look at it, that's how usually it is. As men, they have daughters. Their daughters will always see their fathers a certain way, and boys will always see their moms a certain way. It's just history. That's where the expression comes from, in my opinion. Okay, there we go. We get to that part of it, and that's an interesting part of the storyline because that, to me, is where flashbacks should happen and where it kicks off. Are you guys with me so far on this?
Yeah.
Oh no, 100%.
All right, man. So that whole thing happens. And then, she's instructed to kill Luke. Okay, we all know the Return of the Jedi movie. I don't have to rehash that for anybody. You understand how the ending was? Okay, fine. But in the Emperor's dying command, he sent out a telepathic command to say, kill the Skywalker. And the difference between the Emperor's hand, I should say, not the ninja hand from Marvel, the Emperor's hand is even though they were force sensitive, they didn't use their own power. They kind of used the power from the Emperor. So he was like a giant generator for them, regardless of where they were in the universe, and they would funnel the force from him, use on their own, and that's how he kept control of them. So this way, it's like if he wanted to, he could just pull the cord and they wouldn't have access to the force anymore. So they think that's how he trained them.
Right.
He was a living power battery. This way, no one backstabs the Emperor, but Vader. So I look at that, and that's her story arc up to that point. And then, of course, the Emperor goes away. She has that command. She can't get rid of that command, and then she goes forward after the Emperor is gone. She loses her connection to the Force, or so she thinks, and she becomes a smuggler. What's an assassin supposed to do? Get a day job?
Not great pay, not great hours. Nah, they're probably gonna go for that. Nah, probably wouldn't.
So look, as I said,
thief skills, but
it's true. She could have joined a thief's guild. She's got skills. Like she just doesn't have her force powers. Doesn't mean she's lost her skill, right?
Right.
Yeah, she decided to be an independent contractor. and becomes a smuggler, which is funny that you think, oh, wait a minute, she's supposed to be almost like a Han Solo kind of character. Han, however you want to pronounce it. And
Mhm.
Mara, he was a smuggler too.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is this the deciding factor when you leave the Empire? Your next job application should be smuggler? Is this what you're basically telling us? We have two examples right now. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
And
Finn do that? I can't remember. Can't remember. Did Finn become a smuggler? Hmm.
not yet.
Interesting.
Well,
Entry level. Maybe he didn't have
Yeah.
he didn't have the kahunas to be high ranking smuggler. So maybe entry level. But we'll leave it at that.
His
but he,
girlfriend's more of a smuggler than he is.
that's
He got
true.
to latch
Yeah.
on to somebody. He had to latch on to somebody.
Hey, he ended up on the
Sorry,
Falcon.
Finn.
He
Yep.
was with Chewbacca and Solo.
So yeah,
Yeah.
like I say, entry level
Entry
smuggler,
level. He was a smuggler apprentice.
Yeah.
smuggler's apprentice.
But Mara ends up hanging out with Londo, so right
Yes.
there.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like to show you how close she's intertwined. So I mean, there's stories with her, Lando Calrissian. Obviously, I mean, there's one time they try to turn around and say, "Hey, we're together in a relationship, a romantic relationship," but it was just a cover to do whatever mission it was. Okay, fine. She still
Hmm.
has that thing in the back of her head. Skywalker, get rid of him. And goes through that whole thing. So she worked really hard, and I'm not being sarcastic. In the as a smuggler with in the organization Talon Hard, and she actually becomes second in command of that operation.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, all right then. You know, and then Mara still got to do what she has to do. She still has that whole thing about getting rid of Skywalker, and then she comes across Skywalker at one point in the trilogy of books, and that's where it gets rough. Like the two of them, she's still trying to get rid of Skywalker. They ended up on a planet, so to speak. On this planet, it kind of cancels out people's anyone that's force sensitive. It kind of cuts their connection with the force, and the only way for them to survive is to kind of work together. So while working together, they talk together. Even though Luke knows what she's going to has to do, she knows who Luke Skywalker is. She still has that rattling ahead from both the Emperor, that mental command that she has to
Hmm.
execute, but they have to kind of put that aside, work together, get off planet. And then during this whole series of events, they survive. And then some reason she finally thinks she can succeeds in her venture, right? Like she succeeds in her venture because she doesn't realize until after she kills off a clone of Luke Skywalker, which is Luke
Right.
Skywalker.
Right.
The best way I can put it, and that frees her mentally from that command, and then she kind of goes on to looking at the Jedi, looking at redemption. So she's gone from an assassin. She doesn't know the other assassins. I don't know what her feelings are when she finds out there's other. Like she's not the only one that's the hand. Sorry, the Emperor's hand. But that's the Emperor's tricks,
Mhm.
and she moves on that way into assassin, smuggler, and then let me see what this is going on. What's interesting
Hmm.
is the fact that she's with the Emperor, but let's put that aside for half a second. She's working with her potential, because she does get together with Luke Skywalker. So she worked and spoke with Anakin slash Darth Vader numerous amount of times.
Mhm.
Be it if Darth Vader was a fan of her or not. He wasn't really a fan of the Emperor's hand, but hey, it's like a coworker is like, hey, boss, I don't like that coworker. Yeah, well, I'm the boss. Okay, Palpatine, you do you. You just keep her out of my way. All right, then. I decide if she goes with you or not, Vader. Okay, then. But I can handle things on my own.
Yeah.
Was the sense I've got.
A little work, work behind work strife. That's all right.
Work strife drama. There we go.
Work
So,
strife drama indeed.
right. So I've done a lot of talking. What do you guys think about all this journey we've gone to? And I haven't got to that last part yet, but we can talk about that. But what are your thoughts on her journey at this point?
Go, Larry. Go, Larry.
Well, I mean, at this point, you're seeing more Oh, you're seeing more of her, especially when you look at other things that are happening around her, where she's saving people that she didn't need to save.
Hmm.
Let's just say. I don't know, there's a section where you find out in her history that one of her assignments was to basically rob what's his name? The character that Peter Cushing played,
Oh,
the one Darth Vader chokes.
oh, yes, 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 yes. Right,
You know,
Okay.
that general or admiral at
right.
the time. Yeah, and she's basically to there to rob him and get some information on him. At one point, you find out, and she's like, "Okay, I'll go do that." In the meantime, there's another character there that's she basically tells the emperor a little bit of disinformation to keep him safe.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
so, and you actually see that in her, and you see this dichotomy of like, okay, yes, she's taught to be a bad guy, taught to be an assassin, but she's got that good streak in her still, that with a little growth, and that starts to develop.
She has potential. That's what you're
Yeah,
basically saying. She got potential.
yeah.
There's
She's got
something
potential.
about you.
Just like Han. Han's a scoundrel, and but it's like, but hey, he's got, you know, I got to take care of the kid before he kills himself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a different story, but yeah, yeah. I get that also. Get and what about yourself, Rod? What do you think about this character to this point in her story? What's going on?
I mean, this part of it was again just that's the best way of saying for her. I saw something I wanted to come back to. I saw a little note somewhere. Anyway, I'll come back to it when I find it.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, with her, I mean, again, just the way she still had that type of mental blockage in the sense like
Yeah,
she couldn't get past that kind of last initial thought process of what she needs to do to finish, Skywalker in her mind. That's the final thing she can do for her father. The last decree she wants to fulfill. But you see, as Larry was saying, there are, a couple of times you'll see that she's doing something good. I'm trying to find that was one example I was seeing. I saw something else. Anyways, ah, I guess there's a lot of read on
yeah,
her. So that's the problem. Not the problem, but the scenario. There's a lot. Read that means there's a lot of material. That means there's a lot that we can do and see about this character. So I go back to what you were saying earlier, like in the sense that she was there at pinnacle points in the structure lore of this character. And again, from Return of the Jedi until let me see, from Return of the Jedi unto Force Awakening, that's a long span of time that's not touched. And this would
exactly.
be a perfect. I mean, this is a perfect way of just kind of like sewing in her storyline into the lore and just bringing it more to the forefront. And again, like you said, there's definitely in the books they talk about it, but this is a chance that you can basically bring that to film, bring it out a little bit more so people can see the connections of Luke. What did Luke do? What was Luke like after Return of the Jedi? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
100%, right? And keep in mind, it's like what was he like? And then of course, it goes into Jedi Academy. They have the books Jedi Academy. Luke's reopened the Jedi Academy, becomes a Jedi Master, right? And he starts to kind of build
yes.
up the Jedi's. Once again, that's his goal. Now, Luke is a rebel. Bottom line, that's what it is. There's other, you have the comic book with Mara Jade. So, Star Wars Mara Jade, you can find those miniseries. You can find, which is a series I really like, is Star Wars Dark Empire 2, which is bringing back the resurrection of Emperor Palpatine and his plans on that, and Mara does play a lot of a role in that. So classically, we know that Jedi are not supposed to get married, they're not supposed to be in relationships, and this is why it was so big of a deal when his father did it. Anakin getting married to Palpatine, Sorry, Padme, sorry,
Padme.
Padme, and having, giving birth to Luke and Leia. Okay, Luke follows his dad's footsteps a lot. So if you read like Dark Empire, Luke does willingly give himself to the dark side
Yep.
of the Force to understand what was the lore for his dad to go over there and get a better understanding. So Luke, as a Jedi Master, is probably one of the few like Mace Windu that has connections to the light and dark side willingly, and then but
Mm-hmm.
stays on the light side. Luke, that makes Luke even stronger. Luke's connection with the
Yep.
Force is extremely strong. That's why the Skywalker bloodline is, up there among other Jedi's. And then Luke does what his dad did. Luke finds love by helping Mara redeem herself. He senses the good in her.
Mm-hmm.
He senses the conflict in her. That's his usual line. And he starts to bring her over to the light side. They get into a fight. At one point, he gets a brain aneurysm, and Luke uses the Force to cure himself of a brain aneurysm, stop him from dying, and then still not fight so much physically, but he still helps Mara kind of get to the light side, and then brings her into the Jedi Academy. So he brings her in, forms a friendship, brings her in. She starts being trained as a Jedi herself, and then the training is completed by Luke with his new way of that, which ends up making stronger Jedis than the ones they were before in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the romance, which leads to a wedding where they officially get married. So this has gone from mental health, kidnapping, being an assassin, which she started at the age of 14, carried on, had moments of good of trying to do things where she thought, nah, that was a little bit too rough. I don't want to do that. And then end up marrying the person you're supposed to get rid of, who is a Jedi Master, and in turn almost pretty much becomes one herself. And then
Right.
she has a kid with Luke Skywalker. They're expanding that line. And of course, like all the Skywalkers, they always want to pay tribute to the people in their lives. So their child is named Ben, after,
Ben
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
Kenobi, Ben Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And her story arc ends, unfortunately, later on, where their son is, fighting his cousin, because his cousin Jason Solo has been pulled into the dark side of the Force, and they're getting into a lightsaber battle or a fight, and she jumps in to save her son from being brought over also to the dark side of the Force, and she ends up, being killed by her nephew, which is, which is Han and Leia's son.
Yeah.
That family is that they got some drama like Dynasty. It's the
This guy
Hewings.
went. Oh my gosh.
Like,
There it
yeah.
is.
All right. So that's my 2 cents on all that. I know I'm doing a lot of talking, guys. But this is why I'm very excited about this character, and I wish they would do something. I mean, so what's your takeaways with all this? Her storyline. Maybe I overlook something. What's your feeling on it? And we'll get into fan casting all this too. So
Well, like I said, this really needs to be
Hmm.
a trilogy of movies.
right.
You could kind of like do one movie of her early on,
Mhm.
uh, when she's getting trained to be the Emperor's hand, and referring to
Right. Oh,
where, in
yeah.
order to become a hand, she ends up having to steal something from Grand Moff Tarkin, and
Yes.
there's some there's some there's some guards that come in to where she's supposed to be, but except for one, and she lets that one live, right? So,
Mm.
uh, and then later on, there's a character called
Oh, I think we're having technical difficulty.
Darian that
Okay.
she's basically tax evasion, you know. And so you got that good part. And here's a training. Here's good. Then you get the stuff flashing back on. Okay, everything with her and Skywalker, the Force meld, which is where they actually figure out each other, which leads to the marriage. The movie would basically be everybody growing up. She's a master herself. Well, at least part of the Jedi Council at this
Yeah.
point. And the fight with Ben and Jason and so on, and whatever the daughter's name is on the sidelines of Han and Leia, and do that, and end it with her death.
Wow, yeah, which will make me cry.
So that's the way I would see it.
Yeah, that's beautifully laid out. That
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
yeah, they make me cry. It's the only thing. It's like, oh, why you got to get rid of the character at the very end? But yeah, absolutely. And what about yourself, Rod? What were your feelings before we
Yeah.
jump into who we want to cast or how you want to see
And
it?
I got two
Sorry.
people I could tell you about.
Okay. So hold on first. I forget. Half a second. We're gonna get into that. Rod, what's your feelings before we get into casting it there?
So yeah, my feelings is like same way like Larry in a sense. I would do something like, going her lifespan, but it would have to definitely be the entry of her being, introduced by Palpatine into the Empire, into be the Emperor's hand. And then in regards to, we'll just do that till about, the end of that particular episode. Actually, no, the best way I want to do it, I was gonna say it in the next part. I was gonna do like how Larry's saying a three-part. I
Yeah.
would do it like a Netflix type of storyline
Mm,
and do it at least like a 5 or 6 type of part entry. Give it like a Mandalorian kind of vibe, not a full
right.
season but not like a 10 episode, but give me like 6 and
Mm,
just basically just go from the beginning to the end.
yeah.
And I would do that animated, but that's me.
Oh, animated. Oh,
I'll go
oh,
animated. I'll go animated
oh.
because now you have more freedom to again. I guess sorry. Let me just tap into this right now. Yeah, I would say that because if anything, Luke is still here. Luke is still here. So, Mark,
Through the
we need
voice.
just revert and just give us a little younger you where you are from now, just a little younger. But he will be able to deliver that and give us the story that just give us a live animated rendition off the books to what we're missing or what we're not seeing, and just give us a fuller view of that, and then go from the time she started to the time she is you know hunting, as you said, as close as she was
Right.
to seeing him in the Jabba's hut and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Give us a nice little live rendition of why didn't she pull the trigger? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And why did she came back and she had to reassess herself, whatever the case would be, and then I got another try and make another attempt, and so forth, and just go from that. And then that's what I'm saying. It might be a six episode, because we'll just jumping from timeline to when she now sees him after Palpatine's death, and just basically, okay, how do I keep bumping into this guy, or sorry, go to Life for a Smuggler, so at least we can see what she had to do to survive. Then bumping into Luke, clone, then real Luke, uh, and just go through there. Um, and but we'll kind of hold it off, because if they like it, you can pull a second season on it, and then we can do later on in life, and then do a 2 season, and then end with her death in that regard, her passing. But there's enough material to give us definitely 6 episodes on the first season kind of scenario.
Okay. All right. I see where you're going, but I like that animated. Okay. I like you, Larry, movie. Yeah. So I'll say this. For me, I'm looking movie. I said I was thinking movie, but yeah, I definitely could see a trilogy because all 3 parts would be interesting. Be it if it's a 3-parter or a 2-parter, and depending on what you want to cover the storyline. Definitely you got to cover like the early years. Be
Yeah,
uh big budget because I think this character is long overdue. So with the amount of fans that are behind this character, they've already bought the comic books. They would like to see her here and there little guest appearances. So I think if you get the right people behind it and put a big budget behind it, this could re-innovate Star Wars live action like the books did for the rest of the novel series that came around and the other characters that come about, right? Because I mean, Thawne, of course, came out in Rebels. He showed up live action. It was well received. Fans were excited. This, I think, would actually put that emphasis back into the Star Wars line. They just have to realize to say, hey, this is back to the Legend series and not canon, or I mean, not the new series, how they're doing, how they do it. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. So I will go there. I don't know about you gentlemen, but I know I have one person that I would like to see do this live. So
Well,
very simple. This person's she's already been in the Star Wars genre universe for different ways. She's played action, she's done drama, she's got comedy, so she can definitely do all the physicality to it. And I know she would attack this role really well, and she understands it because she's directed episodes of The Mandalorian and all that before. And I'm talking about the one and only uh, uh, Bryce Dallas Howard, right? So Bryce Dallas Howard, Ron Howard's daughter, she is a director. She did she was in Jurassic World or movies kind of thing. Um, so she's done those. She did the other movie with Henry Cavill where she was like writing a secret agent novel, so to speak. And I think that Bryce Dallas Howard would really be good in that role. It'd be interesting to see her in there, right? A lot of times, yes, people see where they smile, but I mean, if you look at her action, like Jurassic World, I'm trying to remember the movie where it was her, uh, Algon or whatever. She was doing a spy there, the spy character. Forgive my movie, forgive my memory, but she can do the action. I really believe in that. So I'm sticking with Bryce Dallas Howard, someone that really knows the genre, that knows the lore, and understands what can be done for a big budget production from being in front of the camera, behind the camera. She would definitely bring it to life. I could see her being the smuggler, and like Timothy Zahn, he was not happy with certain things. Like he said, Mara Jade should not look like a model, so to speak. But she's got to have her beauty to her, obviously, to be for the roles that she was in. So I'm not looking for a runway model to play this character. No, I'm looking with someone that's got looks really good and understands it, and can deliver, I think, a lot of those aspects altogether. So that's my person to play this character.
Okay. Right, go ahead. I want to come in the last on this.
so I'm gonna say somebody who is I'm thinking from another aspect of it, but she's already in the Star Wars lore. She's already there. So yes, this may seem like a double take in that regard, but this is later generation. This is like another later on in life. So I knew it was gonna be controversial. Anyway, so I was going with Emilia Clarke. So I wanted Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. I was going from that aspect. That's how I thought of it, and then I realized, oh no, I looking at her listing and realized she was in Han Solo.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. So I will admit that, but it was that the Terminator Genesis is where I was thinking from, because I wanted someone who was just crafty and just like just very forthright. And I was saying earlier, I want someone who's like, you look at her, you hear her, she may be nice and pretty and nice and innocent and everything along that line, but you do her wrong, you will pay the penalty. And again, I was going also the fact, like, do we, I see Barry, you picked a natural redhead, you
Yeah.
know. Emily has no problem just blonding up her hair, darkening her hair. So it's like, you know what? Here's a little color. You'll be okay. You can just go a little redhead for today. That's all right. She's not afraid. Her hair is strong. She can take the coloring. Good for her.
To take the color.
Strong hair, strong hair. She got good follicles. There you go.
That's hilarious. See, that's the movie I was talking about. Bryce Dallas Howard, Argyle. There we go. All right. Good follicles. Oh my gosh, you kill me. All right. Well, Larry, what you got going on there? What's your thoughts?
All right. Well, I've got two girls that I think are right, both countrymen of you guys.
Hmm.
They're now when I think of Mara Jade, I think you want to look a little exotic. So these girls are mixed breed, Asian, and European.
Hmm.
First one, skewing younger, Erica Tham. She's from a series called Make It Pop on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
And then when we skew a little older, we got somebody from originally played Emily Fields in Pretty Little Liars. She's currently producing The Cleaning Lady, and her name is Shay Mitchell.
Touche. Touche.
So that's doing that trilogy
Mhm.
concept. That's why I had to cast two.
Right, because you get someone playing the younger point for those
Mhm.
flashbacks, and then someone like present day as we would be seeing the story going on. So okay, so you got a double casting on that to cover both aspects. That's smart. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like it. I like it. I didn't think about casting someone younger. Obviously, someone has to do the younger roles, but yeah, like
Yeah.
almost how they did Conan with Jason Momoa, and they got Leo Howard to play the younger version of himself in the village. But okay, I like this. I like this.
Mhm.
Sweet. Well, gentlemen, unless you have something more to wrap up, we can wrap up this episode. I like this, and not make it too long. We just want to catch up with the May the Fourth be with you, everyone. So, guys, any last thoughts before I wrap this up for Mara Jade?
What can we say? She's again has she's a character like you said. She's been there. She's somewhere in the lore that it's good that we actually bring her out because she's connected to a main character that we all know and love. So again, it's in a period of time that we have no visual contact of her,
Right.
and we all want to know what happened to Luke after. What happened to Luke after Return of the Jedi? We see him later on, The Force Awakens. Actually, not even then, to Last Jedi. So we now need to realize, sir, tell us your story visually. Give me something.
All
That's
right.
what I want.
Here we go. Any last words there, Larry?
Hey, as I always say, everybody, keep reading, keep writing, keep drawing. You guys are all creators yourselves, and we're all behind it.
100%. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in to the iConis podcast. We were talking about Mara Jade. We fan casted her. We kind of gave you some intro into her. There's a lot more lore out there. Go to your local comic book stores, find the books, find their novels, get those, read those, and you'll see how this character has to be in there somewhere, one way or the other, in her own series, headlining it. And as I can say, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. And this whole world was created by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. And may the fourth be with you. Sorry, I know, I'm joking. Ah,
Wrong, 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 wrong.
I know we're gonna get lambasted on that one. We did it on purpose.
This guy,
this,
this
this,
guy.
yeah,
Will you get
this
away with
is the
this?
podcast you're looking for. You're out.